Previously, I did a video about pest control in Thailand, but it's an ongoing problem. I get a company in professionally to protect against termites because they've got the equipment and chemicals that I don't have. I see the occasional black scorpion, but whenever I see one, it's already dead in the bottom of the fish ponds. For some reason, they go in the fish ponds and then just drown. I found a tarantula underneath the washing machine recently, but that was the first and the only one I've ever seen. Then I have the usual problems with insects, cockroaches, mosquitoes, flies, ants. I can deal with that with spray most of the time. And just recently, the biggest problem has been rats. Rats are a problem everywhere. They say that in London, you're never more than a few metres away from a rat. But in the UK, I very rarely saw rats, and I never had a problem in the house. In Thailand, I see them quite often, and they are a problem in the house, probably because the houses are built differently. The wastewater goes out of the house through these blue PVC pipes, and they go into a drain that runs sort of outside the house, and that goes into the storm drains, and it gives the rats quite easy access. They come in from the storm drains, climb up the pipes, and then get in above the false ceilings. And it's really annoying at night when you're trying to sleep and you hear a rat scurrying around. So I try to deal with that problem myself, and I've used different methods. So one method are these little traps where the rat goes in, steps on a plate, and that closes the door. They haven't been very effective. The rats are very intelligent and they seem very wary about going inside. I've tried glue traps. This is where you've got like a plate filled with glue and the rat just steps in it and gets stuck. Or if they don't get stuck, if they get out and they've got all glue over their feet, that makes a real mess. I've tried poison, but I don't really like using poison in the house with kids and a cat in the house. The most effective method I've found are the old-fashioned snap traps, but there's a certain technique to using them, and that's what I'll go through now. Choosing the right kind of bait is very important because you want something that's going to attract the rats. If you watch cartoons, it will tell you cheese, but I don't think cheese is very effective. I've spoken to local Thais and they recommend chicken or fish. But the problem with perishable food is that it's going to rot after a few days. And not only will it not attract rats, it will probably start to attract flies, and you don't want that. So what I've been using is just dry cat food. Now, I've got a cat in the house, so I have food already. But if you need to buy some, a small bag of dry cat food shouldn't be very expensive. And what I do is I secure it to the trap with a glue gun. If you haven't got a glue gun, then normal glue should suffice. And the advantage here is that firstly, the bait doesn't fall off the trap because it's glued on. And secondly, the rat has to work a bit harder to get the food off. So as it works harder, it presses down harder on the little flap here, and that causes the trap to go off. I've actually had occasions where I've checked the trap and all of the food has gone and the trap hasn't gone off. The rats are actually quite clever and that they can get the food off without setting off the trap, and you don't want that. You want the trap to go off. So I've found this the most effective method, just dry cat food glued on. And I use a glue gun, but as I say, normal glue should suffice. I've now stuck the bait in place. You don't need an enormous amount. I've just used enough to cover this plate. And one thing to be very, very careful of is this spring. This spring is very, very powerful. So I don't actually load the trap until I'm just about to put it in position. When I'm working on it now, the trap is unloaded. As you can see, it's very, very, very powerful. And if it goes off accidentally with your hand in the wrong place, it will quite easily break a finger. So now I've got this far, I will now put the trap into position. This is the full ceiling just above my bedroom. And there's nothing more annoying when I'm in bed trying to get to sleep and all I can hear is rats running around just a few feet above me. This is a trap I've just loaded with bait. I've got another couple of traps over here, but the rats seem to prefer certain locations to eat their food. And all the rats I've found so far, all the rats I've caught have been in this trap, and they haven't used these traps. So you use a few traps and put them in different places. As you can see, I've got string to secure each trap. And the reason for that is that if a rat goes into a trap and it's not killed immediately, it might run around. And then it might get into an area where it's inaccessible and you can't retrieve the rat or the trap. And it's going to smell bad, and that's something that you really don't want. And if I'm at home when a trap goes off, it's very loud, and I know there's a rat being caught, and I know to go and retrieve it. If I'm not at home, I don't hear anything, obviously. So you need to check the traps quite regularly. I checked this one this morning, and there was a rat there. I hadn't heard anything, and it was already quite decomposed. It'd been there several days, and already the flies had got to it, and there were small maggots, and that's obviously something you don't want. So check the traps fairly regularly. I hope you found that useful. One thing I didn't mention was how humane the various ways of catching rats are. With the methods that catch rats alive, you've then got to figure out what to do with them. If you release them, they're probably going to go back into the house, or you've got to figure out a way of killing them humanely. And if you just leave them to die, that's quite inhumane. The thing about the snap traps is not only is it a very effective way of catching rats, it's a very effective way of killing rats. The spring in those traps is very, very powerful, and on most occasions it just kills them instantaneously, kills them outright, so there's not a problem with humanity. And those snap traps are my preferred method of catching rats. Thanks for watching.